John Beaudin Rock History book, and today in history we missed the last 2 days because of circumstances beyond our control, but we always like to be here to do today in rock history for you. We're going to get to the headline. Half of the original band are dead. They only lasted 2 albums with this band. In about 60 seconds, we start off with 1940, Born on This Day. Singer Sonny Charles, there he is, on the right-hand side with Steve Miller on the left-hand side. From Sonny Charles and the Checkmates Limited, born in Charles, Hemp Hill in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Happy birthday. Also in 1942, Gladys Knight and the Pips' brother, Merrill Bubba Knight, joined his sister in backing vocals as a Pip, born on this day in 1942 at Atlanta, Georgia. 1944, look at that face. Gene Parsons, multi-instrumentalist for the Birds of Flying Burrito Brothers, born in Morongo Valley in California in the Mojave Desert. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, he still lives there. And on our headline, here we go, Martin Chambers, drummer for the Pretenders, that's the band we're talking about, is born in Hereford, England on this day. Hold on a second. I don't even have the date, but it must have been erased. But that's not the big thing. Anyway, we can wish him a happy birthday. Remember this album cover? Remember these guys? They were originally on the album cover. Very famous band, weren't they? Yeah, only 2 of them of left standing. One woman, one man is still around. Of course, Martin Chambers, we talked about. Christy Hind is in that picture. She's still around. But it was a promising start for the band. And no, don't get me wrong. They've done, in the rock and roll history, they went on after those 2 members passed away and did amazing things. But everyone who bought the first album and the second album, remember the other 2. We're going to get to them in a second. There's the debut album. First album came out in late 1979. In December 79, the album topped the UK charts, went to number 9 in the US. Best single, of course, Brass in Pocket. People were trying to figure out what Christy Hind was saying. Remember? Going to use my arms, going to use my legs, going to use my style. And everyone was stumped on, long before the internet, everyone stumped on the next line. Going to use my, what was she saying? Sexy? Everyone thought she was saying sidestep. So there you go. Going to use my style, going to use my sidestep. Who said sidestep back then? We certainly didn't expect Christy Hind to be saying it. But anyway, Brass in Pocket reached number 14 on the U.S. charts. And here's one of the men of the hour. Half of the original band is dead. Bassist Pete Farndon, who was in the Bushwhackers before the Pretenders, was on the first 2 Pretenders albums. He helped give the band that kind of tough image with the leather jackets and stuff. He had a samurai sword, and he would bring that in concert. But he was having substance abuse problems, and in 1982, Christy Hind said that he was almost impossible to work with, very malcontent. And he was let go from the band. And here's his gravestone. On April 14th, 1983, his wife found him drowned in his bathtub after overdosing. Sad stuff. Also, another member. Half of the band. When you have 4, half of the band is, there you go. James Honeyman Scott was also on the first 2 Pretenders albums, and he was let go from the band, again from substance abuse problems. And get this, 2 days later, at his girlfriend's apartment, he was found, died of a heart attack from substance abuse. Half of the band, just like that, both of them interestingly, only lasted for 2 albums. I saw the Iggy Pop with the Iggy Pop with the Pretenders. Iggy Pop was opening up in the late 80s, I think it was. One of the best shows I've ever seen. We were on second row. It was just crazy good. We shall move on. We tip our hats to both of them. It's a sad way to die, because usually if you die that way, you do die alone, right? That's the way it goes. Let's move on. Born on this day in 1956, Blackie Lawless. His original name was Steve Duran, American heavy metal singer. He's from Wasp, of course. Born in Staten Island, New York. 1960, Kim Thayil, lead guitarist, Soundgarden. Born in Seattle, Washington. 1965, Greg Fieldman, American guitarist, sound manager, Rick Rubin Productions. and record producer for Metallica, is born on this day. In 75, Mark Ronson, British-American musical songwriter and DJ. Uptown Funk, remember, born in London, England on this day. And in 81, and no one really knows how old she is, there's a rumor that Beyonce is actually older than she claims to be. There's like huge articles written on this all over the internet. They're like conspiracy theories about this. You know I'm not a conspiracy theory person. But anyway, a lot of folks are saying Beyonce is like at least 6 years older than she is. I'm not saying it. Beyonce Knowles, born in Houston, Texas. She found fame in the 90s group Destiny's Child and ended up being a bigger solo artist than she was in that band. Let me move my chart up a little bit so I can read it. Oh, I guess that's all I have. Here we go, Dottie West. She was born, she died on this day in 1991. She was 58 years old. Remember her work with, of course, Kenny Rogers. She dies 5 days after getting into a car accident on her way to perform at the Grand Ole Opry. May she rest in peace. 1994, Louise Myers, American blues guitarist and harmonica player, dies at the age of 64. And one of my favorite performers, I thought he's not rock, but I'd add him in here. If you don't know the band Shadowfax, just the way it sounds, look up Shadowfax on Spotify or Apple or whoever you have. I'm itching because I got bitten by a bug. Look up Shadowfax. They were on the Windham Hill label. I used to be a new age musician. I used to be a new age DJ I left rock and roll for a few years to get into new age. You know, the wave format, the Quiet Storm format, KKSF in San Francisco. And I played a lot of Chuck Greenberg's music with Shadowfax, an amazing musician. He died at the age of 45 in 1995. And that concludes, we're going to be back for albums in a little bit, but that concludes this section of Today in History. We're going to start splitting them up. If there's a big story for the people who died or were born, we're going to go with that first. We're going to put it on. If there's an equally big story for albums, that's coming up next. So I'm going to come back in about 15, 20 minutes, and we're going to do the other ones. Remember, if you want to support the channel, there are links at the very top of the description where you can help us out. We always enjoy doing Today in History. It's one of my favorite parts of this job. You know, our other channel reached 100,000 subscribers, and now we're working really hard on this one as well, because this channel was always supposed to be Rock History Book about Today in History, and finally we're doing that. So thank you. We'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more. It's John Beaudin. Take care of yourself, guys, and thank you for I should look at some of the, we just got a few comments before we go. Todd Bushy, sort of dead, just hanging out. Mark Turmel, James Honeyman Scott was a fantastic guitarist. JT Shark, greetings from the UK. Hey, JT Shark. I love the story about the preacher who would not marry Hind and Ray Davies because they were so drunk. Dwayne says, greetings from Edmonton. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, buddy? And Todd Bushy, you know how to appreciate when you experience it. Thanks, guys, for being on here. Appreciate it. And, Oscar Stern, they rocked. They did indeed. We'll be back with the big albums on this day in history in about 15, 20 minutes. Take care.